United States. One nuclear weapon.
The African Continental Free Trade Area has been described as one of the largest free trade areas in the world right now, looking at its potential market of 1.2 billion people and a combined gross domestic product of 2.5 trillion US dollars. That is when measured by the number of countries participating so far. This milestone follows actions taken in June 2015 at the 25th Summit of the African Union held in South Africa, when African heads of state and government agreed to launch negotiations on the creation of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area through negotiations on the liberalization of trade in goods and services to boost intra-African trade, which has been suffering for decades. Well, on this edition of Global Update, we will be extensively discussing the African Continental Free Trade Area. What is it all about? Gains for Africa and Nigeria specifically, amongst other questions. This wouldn't be the only issue of discussion, but developments around the globe, as we always do. Welcome to Global Update. My name is Oyeyemi Ajayi. The African Continental Free Trade Area, which is expected to go in effect from the 1st of January 2021, is to cover all 55 African countries and bring 30 million Africans out of poverty. It is also hoped that it will raise the incomes of 68 million others who live on less than $5.50 per day.
As of 3rd December 2020, 32 countries have both signed and approved ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, including Nigeria. Of the 55 African Union member states, only Eritrea has yet to sign. With the main objectives of creating a single continental market for goods and services, with free movement of business persons and investments, thus paving the way for accelerating the establishment of the customs union, the agreement will be governed by 5 operational instruments, namely the rules of origin, the online negotiating forum, the monitoring and elimination of non-tariff barriers, a digital payment system, and the African Trade Observatory.
I think the implementation of the African Continental Trade Area has already taken off. Most of the member countries have already signed. And the Continental Trade Agreement is supposed to boost investment and trade with the member states. It is expected that all tariffs, all barriers will be removed, and the gains that will accrue as a result of that is estimated to about 16.2 billion US dollars. Looking at the population of Africa, which is about 1.2 billion people, looking at the fact that 30% of all known mineral deposits in the world is located in Africa. 90% of the world's cobalt is in Africa. 90% of platinum is in Africa. So the continental trade going forward, it is estimated that the spending capacity will hit about 6.7 trillion US dollars by the year 2030. That will give the African countries the leverage to negotiate favorable trade deals. It will give the African countries the capacity, even at bilateral level, and multilateral level, even within the context of the World Trade Organization, for them to have favorable negotiation of trade deals that will impact positively in sustainable development for Africa.
The free trade agreement is expected to bring together 54 of the 55 member states of the African Union, covering a market of about 1.2 billion people, including a growing middle class and a combined gross domestic product of more than 3.4 trillion US dollars.
Well, as you know, the new horizon, the new market horizon is in Africa. Looking at the rich deposit that Africa has, you are looking at a nation, as I've said, that owns about 30% of proven mineral resources in the world. It's in Africa. You talk about platinum. Africa houses 90% of platinum. You talk about cobalt, which is very, very critical in industrial setting. We have about almost 90%. So I think this will put the African countries in a vintage position to negotiate with their counterparts in Europe, in USA, and in Asia. The most important catch is to be able to have a favorable trade deals. You see, when weaker countries go into bilateral arrangement with stronger nations, let's take an example, a country like Gambia, for example, went into bilateral agreement with, say, Russia, or with, say, they are not on the same level. But you come to the bargaining table with a platform that will put you at par. And I think that is the catch and that is leverage. Nigeria, as you know, especially in the West African country, is a leader, and even within the African continent. Nigeria is number 6 oil producing nation in the world. With almost about 200 million people. So that put us in a vintage position also, so that we can drive the success and the progress of the African continental area. And from all indications, looking at the strategies that have been adopted, especially by the Foreign Affairs Ministry, by the Ministry of Trade and Investment, and by relevant agencies, I think it is going to be a success.
In terms of the number of participating countries, the agreement positions the market as the world's largest free trade area since the formation of the World Trade Organization. Estimates from the Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, suggest that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement has the potential both to boost intra-African trade by 52.3% by eliminating import duties and to double this trade if non-tariff barriers are also reduced. Now that trading under the agreement is set to begin on January 1st, 2021.
Still on the AfCFTA, experts have been talking about the benefits to Nigeria as well as what Africa needs to do to make it indeed the biggest global market.
Nigeria, we have the capacity for ingenuity. Enterprising spirit is here. That's one. That's in terms of production and productivity. Number 2 is innovation. We can innovate actually when we are put under the pressure of demand. Number 3 is that in every country in Africa, there's no market where you cannot locate Nigerian traders. So these people become ambassadors for Nigeria on the AfCFTA. Therefore, moving our goods from Nigeria to other spheres. Number 4 is the fact that we have a population that can produce, not only consume. And if you mark this with what I said earlier about enterprising spirit, it means that this population are also eager, very hungry to acquire wealth, very hungry to create wealth, very hungry to also expand their markets. They have been waiting for that. So market expansion will also be generated through this process to other England. Number 5 is that you now have 1.2 billion market space, market share, where you can, look at many varieties, opportunities here and there. And then you can see that traders, farmers, manufacturers, transporters, they are now moving out from here. Having also noted that services sector is one of the sectors that are going to be in the AFCFTA. Therefore, knowing that Nigeria has almost about over 40% of the services, market. Therefore, it creates an opportunity for us also to exhibit what we need, even beyond Africa. And the final point I need to make is the attraction of markets. Factories are going to be relocating to better markets, better populations, better spaces. But this has a little curve. Why? Because of the current insecurity that we are managing ourselves with. I think this is where the government will need to work on, so that if we are more secured, it will guarantee security for those that want to relocate to this sphere.
Now a break beckons. When we come back, we will be talking about the new strain of COVID-19 in Britain, which has found its way to other parts of the world, including Africa. We will be right back.
Let's blow your trumpets. Advertise on NTA News 24, located at the headquarters premises of the NTA, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. Our rates are affordable. Our reach is far and wide. We are on DSTV channel 419, Star Times channel 101, Go TV channel 46, Free TV channel 703. Please call Henry on 0803 379 0884. NTA News 24. News and more news.
Welcome back. The program is still Global Updates, where we discuss different issues around the globe as they unfold. Now, UK Health Secretary Matt Hancock has revealed that a new strain of COVID-19 virus has been identified in southeast England, and it appears that this strain of the virus may be spreading more quickly, leading to more cases, but there is no indication that it may cause more severe disease. Also, South Africa's health department has earlier said that a new genetic mutation of the virus had been discovered and might be responsible for a recent surge in infections there. This is coming after the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence publicly got his COVID-19 vaccination alongside some of his officials. However, Australia has become the first country to abandon a vaccine attempt, scrapping a $750 million project after the shot wrongly gave some people positive HIV test results. We are actually looking at the coronavirus pandemic, and precisely the second strain of COVID-19. The world over, especially UK, amongst others, are talking about it and are experiencing it, which is quite different to the first one. What makes it so different, this second strain?
Normally, when viruses replicate, or when they duplicate, or when they multiply, some things can go wrong. What we mean by something going wrong is that the sequence of genes inside them may change. And when that happens, they may become stronger. They may also become weaker. The structure will then be different from the structure of the parent virus that gave rise to it. And therefore, if the way the parent virus attacks the body, attacks the cells, is in a certain manner. The way this parent mutant, variant, different strain attacks will be totally different. It could be totally different in a more detrimental manner, or to our advantage, it may be totally different in a way that it is not as harmful as the parent virus. In this particular case, it is now observed that the new strain, this new variant, is more potent, it's more dangerous, it causes more illness than the previous one, and it seems to multiply or replicate faster, and therefore it is appearing to be more dangerous than what we had before.
Observers have talked about some of the vaccines. The concern is about the vaccines now, saying that some of these vaccines bring about some underlying sicknesses or ailments. What's your thought about this, and how true is this for a particular vaccine to bring about another virus or another disease?
In the scientific world, before you say anything, definitely there has to be an evidence. There has not been any enough convincing evidence for me personally to say that some of the things that they are alleging that the vaccines cause is true. In the first place, we have not even used the vaccine in our own country yet. So we have not had a chance to observe. Everything we're hearing is speculation. And I wouldn't want to live in a world of speculation. In the science world, we live by evidence. We live by proof, but not by speculation. It is when it is observed and it is true, it is documented, it is analyzed, then you'll be in a position to say, yes, it is true, this and this and this happens. In our own case here, we have not even seen the vaccine. We have not even used the vaccine. Whatever we're hearing is what is happening somewhere else. Therefore, it will be wrong for me to speculate that what they are saying is true or is false. Yes, it is possible that any vaccine, any drug could have side effect. But you would wonder why a particular vaccine or drug would have the type of side effect that they are talking about. Well, generally, we've been handling vaccines of different types. There are some vaccines that have to be frozen all the time. There are some vaccines that you don't have to worry about them. You can keep them at room temperature. Whatever the case is, the manufacturers would give you the recommended temperature at which you can store or transport the vaccine. That is what we call the cold chain. If, for example, the vaccine has to be refrigerated, then the manner and the containers in which you store them and transport them will be different from one point to the other. And when we decide as a country, for example, to import a particular type of vaccine, because there are going to be different types, the manufacturers will give us the recommended temperature at which we should keep them. And at that point, we will keep to those temperatures. For now, personally, and I would want to repeat this over and over and over again, even if the country is planning or has purchased some vaccines, it is only an additional preventive measure. The permanent measure, preventive measure that we should take is what we are preaching. Wash your hands frequently, keep yourself distant from your next neighbor, wear your face mask as soon as you are out of your house, and make sure that you are not infected. If we do this, then the presence of this virus will diminish in our midst. The most important thing for us to do is to do everything within our power to prevent ourselves from being infected, to prevent this virus from spreading, to make sure that we kill this virus, get it out of our midst as soon as we can, rather than waiting and expecting that we are going to get vaccine and we're going to get vaccinated and therefore be prevented.
Forest land cover in Cameroon has declined for the last 25 years, with a loss of around 1.0% forest cover per year, which is one of the highest deforestation rates in the Congo Basin. According to the 2018 FRMI study, 8.5 million hectares are dedicated to forestry production.
Cameroon's timber, selling itself in sizes and quantities, suffers losses to illegality. According to statistics, 3 out of 4 of these logs is unaccounted for, costing the state an estimated 100 billion CFA francs annually. This December 15, 2020 joint ministerial order therefore defines legally sourced timber. Legally sourced timber is timber whose exploitation and processing respects the legal procedures. Conditions for use are spelled out in Article 3 of the General Provisions. Government, with the support of its technical partners and actors of the private sector, engaged into a series of consultations in order to find a lasting solution to the phenomenon. The order we have here is a fruit of this dialogue, which aims at obliging all beneficiaries in the timber transaction chain to use legally sourced timber. The order that engages the Ministry of Public Contracts and Public Works in efforts of monitoring and certification led by the Ministry of Forestry aims at enabling Cameroon meet its obligations at international conventions and increase its available timber stock.
Now let's take a look at some major stories of the week. The United Kingdom and the European Union have finally reached trade agreements as England exits from the regional group. The deal came after 5 years of negotiations and uncertainty between the UK and the European Union. The trade deal signed is worth more than £600 billion.
We will continue cooperating with the UK in all areas of mutual interest. For example, in the field of climate change, energy, security and transport. Together, we still achieve more than we do apart.
The British Prime Minister, in a statement, said the deal allows the government to take the control of currency, borders, laws, trade and fishing waters. This means that the UK and the other European member countries will enjoy zero tariffs and zero quotas that has been a bone of contention since the Brexit was announced in 2016. Other key points of the deal includes border checks between the UK and EU, a shared commitment to protect social and labour rights, and the UK's participation in a number of the EU programmes until 2027. And that is Global Update this week. Join us again next time on this same station, NTA News 24, as we discuss major stories and issues during the week. Remember that COVID-19 is still very much around, so let's observe the set-down safety protocols for us to remain alive. I wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. My name is Oyeyemi Ajayi. Bye for now.
Thank you.